This is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel, and today I'd like to take you on the road with me to Lawrenceville, Virginia and Fort Christanna. Pack your bags, let's go! One of the great benefits of road travel is being able to choose where you want to go. I had driven past the sign for Fort Christanna many times. I knew from the name that the fort would be old, but other than that, had no other information. The fort is located in Brunswick County, Virginia, on the outskirts of the town of Lawrenceville, about 10 miles off the I-85 freeway. Fort Christanna is a historic site and part of Virginia's Civil Rights and Education Heritage Trail. There are 5 sites in Brunswick County alone. I have learned a lot from the 3 sites I had visited before, and the interpretive signs and the layout of the fort were very educational. A 1713 treaty will grant the Saponi, Akananichi, Totero, Siouan tribes a 36-mile tract of land. Fort Christanna will be situated at the center of this. In 1714, Royal Govenor Spottswood will begin building the fort on the banks of the Meherrin River with money from the Virginia Indian Company. The Indian Company receives a monopoly on the regional fur trade with the desire for fair trade for the tribes and profits for the shareholders. In 1607, when Jamestown is started, the Siouan Indians will number about 6,300. By the time Fort Christanna is built, there are about 600 people left. Disease, English settlers moving further east, and harassment from the Iroquois tribes had left but the old and sick without their lands. With the ongoing support of Governor Spottswood, the tribe benefits from the protection of the fort. From here, they will trade with the settlers and other tribes, with as many as 15 different Indian tribes trading and making treaties at the fort. The village was built downhill along the Meherrin River. Their homes were arranged in a circle. The men hunted, traded in pelts, scouted the countryside with the rangers, and worked at the fort. The women plant crops and care for the children. The Saponi would make carved plates, pots, sleeping mats, and they would use those for trade. They practiced archery and dancing. Governor Spottswood will erect a handsome schoolhouse at the Indian town and hire Reverend Charles Griffin to live with and teach the Indians. The governor's hope was to re-educate the Indian children in the Anglican Church and English in order to ensure tribal cooperation in the future. Alexander Spottswood was Royal Governor of Virginia from 1710 to 1722. A distinguished soldier, he was an energetic and ambitious man. Interested in expanding the West, he desired stable relation with the Virginia Indian tribes and those in other territories. He will establish the Virginia Indian Company to trade with the Saponi at the fort. Designing and naming Christanna for his religion and his queen, he will create 2 schools, one here and one at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, with the desire for good relations and profit. He builds his house about a half-mile from Fort Christanna. When he retires after 2 terms to his ironworks in Germanna, they are located in Spotsylvania, a county that is named for him. Although the fort does appear to have been beneficial to both the Indians and the settlers, the activity at the fort will slow when the charter will be rescinded, and by 1718 the school will be closed and the rangers disbanded. The fort will close in 1722, and while some of the Saponi will stay, most will migrate to other states and Canada. Today, there are still Saponi and Meherrin communities on the Virginia and North Carolina border. Fort Christanna was constructed of wood in a pentagonal shape, with each side 100 yards long. At every corner, there was a bastion house with a 1,400-pound cannon. There was a well on the property, as well as stables, housing for the 12 rangers, storage, and the school. You can walk the fort easily. There are monuments to the preservationists at the locations of the bastion houses. Today, it is hard to imagine that this location, about 100 miles from the coast, was once the edge of the colonial wilderness. In 1924, the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America in the Commonwealth of Virginia acquired the land where the fort once stood and will erect a monument. Archaeological excavations conducted from 1978 to 1981 and from 2001 to 2004 have determined the fort's walls, locations of the building, and nature of the trade items. Artifacts from these excavations are located at the Brunswick County Museum in Lawrenceville. The Brunswick Garden Club and the Garden Club of Virginia gifted the Learning Circle in 2008. Teachers, students, and the public are welcome here to discuss the Native American tribes. Seating is arranged in the shape of the Saponi Indian Village. Fort Christanna is located about 10 miles from I-85 in the town of Lawrenceville, Virginia. There are signs directing you. The road up to the fort is unpaved, but not of poor quality. There is a museum in Lawrenceville as well as food and gas. The fort is free to visit and open from dawn till dusk. The surrounding countryside will be beautiful in the spring and fall. The walk around the fort outline is very easy, but at the Learning Circle there are a few potholes that you have to watch out for. They're ankle twisters. Be respectful of the location as you are walking in the footsteps of history. The parking lot to the fort can accommodate large vehicles and several cars. Lastly, fellow traveler, I'd like to thank you for taking this on-the-road trip with me to Fort Christanna. Next time you're going up the 85, take about an hour out of your time and visit this sacred Virginia site. Please smack that bell, subscribe and like my channel, and check out my latest video, a deep dive into Monticello, home of our third president, Thomas Jefferson. This is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel, and I look forward to seeing you out there on the road. Until then, safe travels.